Hello, everyone, and welcome to our American Scouser TV's post-match recap show. We're going to dig in as best we can to Liverpool 4, Accrington Stanley 0. But before we do that, we will say hello to the guys, two of which are out on the West Coast, and one of which is dealing with a whole shit ton of snow. So, Kazi, Sir Z, how are we doing?
Good.
Good, good. Thanks, Kelly.
Sir Z, happy to hear that you are safe from all the fires and not involved in that. And anyone
Yeah,
that's out there
thank
that
you.
is dealing with it, definitely feel for you. Hope that things work out. Kazi, how is Nevada?
It's very much deserty still sandy and deserty. But yeah, know where we are. It was a nice day, wasn't it? It was a lovely day. But I didn't have to get irate, just lied on the couch, barely lifted my head off the pillow and watched the Liverpool win a football match. And it's very rare we have those days these days that, we don't need to get irate and worked up and worry about a football match. So it was very nice. Perfect day all round. So,
It does feel a little bit like it did early in like September, October, where we like slept walk through matches, the possession, we'd win a game 2-0. We were just like, oh, remember when football was like this and it wasn't a heart attack
yeah.
every time? And then December came and January came and we're like, shit. I have to live my life like Sir Z lives every single moment of life, let alone football matches. How is
Yeah.
the blood pressure medication? Is it just on the shelf collecting dust after a morning like today?
No, it was good. I took this. I just knew we were going to win. That was it.
Of course.
And as long as we didn't get anyone injured, the moment I saw Virgil wasn't on the bench or anywhere near that squad, I was cool. I was good.
So as always, get your comments in. Nick Fadley says, all right, all right, all right. He has found himself in this morning. I also know that we've seen some comments coming from Gordo as well, replacing one bald with another. Yep, we are still on a hairless Saturday outside of myself on these for those of you that were in the pre-match. Let's get right to it. Kazi, we'll start with you. When you saw the lineup, I know there were some things you didn't like about it. You weren't on the pre-match this morning. So what was it you didn't like? What didn't you think the manager got right? And then we'll talk about how it looked after it.
I didn't like the Jota one. Didn't like it. Understood why he did it. Which sometimes you need to. I always think when a manager makes a decision, you need to understand why he's made the decision. And I did understand why he made the decision. Sometimes, as you know, when managers make decisions, you're like, what are you doing? And you don't understand it. I understood why he did it because it made sense more the match went on because he's definitely not playing him against Forest. But I thought he would start. I thought he would only get Jota fit for Forest. So I just thought, why are you doing Jota now? But clearly, as the match went on and Jota does 90, he's not doing Jota for Forest. So I didn't like that. I thought Kwanzaa and Kanate might have shared the load. Worried about Kwanzaa, but of course he was sick. He wasn't injured. So that was one that kind of stuck out to me. The Trent one was interesting. I would have took Trent off at half time. I didn't think he needed the 70, but that's just nitpicking. I just want to kind of talk about, the good things that happened. And there's lots of good things, weren't there? You know what I mean? Like, lots. It was a lot of fun. It really was. It's nice just to watch a game and no fucking, hassle or pressure and feel like the world's falling apart every time they get the ball. So, the right people scored in effect. Jota got on the goal, which is nice. And, Chiesa, what a little performance from the lad for 30 minutes there. He looked like a serious football player, a clever football player. I always look when I judge football players is what's your decision making like? And he always feels like he makes the right one. Like that's the right decision to make the right pass at the right time. You know what I mean? It's the wait. He's not like an extra second delaying on the ball. No, the pass is right, perfect every time. And he gets his goal. What a lovely finish, by the way. He gets the post. He has a chance where he has another shot. The keeper makes a good save, comes off the inside of his leg, goes out for a corner. So I'm just super pleased, mate. I really am. And, the other one that really stood out to me was Endo again. Brilliant. Really good.
Yeah, Endo was great.
Like,
Sir Z, first half, we'll stick there for you. Obviously, a lot will be talked about and overblown a little bit with the 16-year-old's performance. Obviously, showed some tips and tricks at the beginning. You can see there's a player there. What were your initial thoughts on the youngster's performance, more or less, the first few minutes of the match? Because I laughed. Someone said in the Discord channel, it looks like they're putting 2 or 3 on him. And I was like, well, no professional, no matter what level you play, wants to get done in on national TV by a 16-year-old at any point. So they made sure. But what were your initial thoughts on him and his performance in the first half today?
I thought he did excellent. You know, he didn't get overwhelmed by the game and by the situation, and you know, it's obviously, you know, he's not Premier League ready by any stretch of the imagination, but it was a good game for him, and he can take a lot of confidence away from that. I think he played a team at his level, like or an opponent at his level right now, considering he's under 16. He has a lot of skills, and it kind of reminds him a little bit of Sterling in the sense that he had a lot of skills. You can see he potentially wants to showboat a bit, and that's why he's not ready for the Premier League, because I think he'll just get beaten off that ball. But it was a good performance. You know, he put a lot of effort in, positive. It was, you know, a lot of positive and constructive effort in the game, and yeah, he can definitely walk away with his head held high, and I can see why we went for him and why Chelsea are pissed why he came to us.
Yeah, and Brian will come to you in 1 second, but first, we're going to bring in Timuchin here. Timuchin, before I go to Brian, let's start with you. Interesting day, harder to judge, I think, defenders sometimes on days like today because they're not asked to do things for a long time, and then they get called into action out of nowhere. Endo, Kazi's already touched on Endo's performance today, but as a center back, I wanted to get your input on Kwanzaa today, how he did. At times, he looked really assured, made a lot of good decisions, stepping in, kind of cutting off lines, even went forward a couple times. I thought at one point it was like, is this Matip out there? What's going on? What do you think of Kwanzaa, and how much does it mean to a center back like him to put in a decent performance, have just positive thoughts going forward with what the manager has put on him to kind of win his way back?
Yeah, it's hard. I thought he did well, but I mean, it's hard playing a game like this. You got like a midfielder playing next to you as a center back. You got the midfield in front of you kind of going through the motions, like nobody is full focused and stuff like that. So it's hard. I was actually looking at those moments. I don't know if Slot will like Matip. And we don't know that yet.
Yeah,
it's kind of like too soon, but some of those times where he kind of like takes off and goes, if he loses the ball, you know, we're not like, oh, look at him go. Against Accrington, it's like whatever, you know, he can take those risks and stuff like that. I know you look at this game, it's really hard to evaluate, I think, anybody. It's good minutes and probably good for his confidence, clean sheets, didn't make an error and stuff like that. But I don't know, like similar to Ando, like, yeah, serviceable on a game like this, done. But I mean, if you had like a smart forwards who can kind of like time his runs and stuff like that, like I said in Discord, he literally played center back like how I used to, like did not go out for any of those air balls with that dude. You just kind of give a little nudge and then just take the bounce behind, or you let the guy go down up, you go for the second ball. I mean, basically, he just played like a defensive midfielder playing center back. So
I think the Kwanzaa one, mate, the one thing positive I would say, he looked like the senior player back there, which is a nice thing to see. Like he looked like
he's probably like, I'm the only one playing defense back here. It's
but he just looked like when he was on the ball, like commanding plays. I seen one in the second half and he was calling out Bradley because he didn't give him the width, and he passed the bat to Endo and he was fuming at Bradley. And I was liking that. I was like, yeah, go on, lad, get out, get out your teammates. And so that's nice to see that the kid's short on confidence and he goes out there. I know the team he's playing against, but he looks assured. He looks like the senior player.
Yeah. That's what I took out of it too. I almost took it as he's like, hey, I have 2 backup fullbacks and a defensive midfielder back here. I'm Virgil van Dijk. Like I'm the guy who's got to organize people, and it was nice to see. Now, would have been nice to see him organize a couple times on those set pieces where we were on a training ground. The problem is we looked like we were on a different training ground because they were just running free. I mean, how they don't score on that header that guy gets, and that kid's gonna be ruin that, just like the kid who hit the post. And what a nice little training ground set play that was, where the kid gets the shot off in the box off the corner. He's gonna be telling his grandkids, I hit the crossbar at Anfield, and I had Kelleher absolutely pegged on that. Like, he was getting nowhere near it. The kid made a nice strike. So that's probably all that we'll talk about Accrington Stanley in this entire program. So, Brian, we'll come to you here. Szoboszlai got his 45 minutes, got his legs back under him. He gets yanked right at the half. Makes total sense to me. Get him ready for what is a big performance for him in Forest. What did you see from Szoboszlai? What do you think the side missed not having him over the last 3 matches?
So, in my opinion, what Szoboszlai does right there, he stretches it. He stretches defenses right there because with his runs, and I think that's something that we missed with against Manchester United and definitely against Spurs. So I think that he adds that element to there, and I think that what we missed where Jones is more of a box to box kind of like player right there, and a little bit more jostling. Szoboszlai just takes people on, and I think that's what. And I think sometimes you need that to go there to create space right there for a Mo or for a Diaz right there to get in behind that. So I think it's very positive to see him get those minutes, and I'm sure he's going to be against. We're going to play against Forest.
Kazi, I'll come to you here. Touch a little bit on. We get to halftime now, right? We take Szoboszlai off. Your little Italian crush, and it's like if you ever wrote a note like Kazi loves Chiesa, and it says it would be like me writing it to Mike Piazza, but spelling it as pizza, because you spent an entire half, and I love that you dug in yourself. You're like, I'm gonna learn how to spell his name eventually.
I called it out myself. I was like, I was wondering.
No, I know, I loved it. That's why I said you'd have to give him the love letter, and then respell it with the name crossed out. But what was it about the performance today? We know we're not putting it up against who the competition is, but what was it for you about the performance today? Really stuck out, and how do you see it helping the side moving forward if he can maintain this type of play against better competition?
Massive. I mean, Liverpool need options when the number 9 isn't playing well. Liverpool need another option, and I just thought we can sit here and judge them and say, yeah, but the opponents and the opponents. Well, if you played like shit, you'd still say the opponent. So if you can't do it against these, how can it? Do you know what I mean? So you can only play well who you're playing against. It's not. So we can only judge it on the back of that. So what I would say is, mate, he came on and you can just tell he's got quality, you know. That's the difference. You can just tell his touches, his movements. I said it all the time. You judge a player on his decision making. That's how I judge who a good player is. What's your decision? He makes the passes at the right time. Like, he doesn't delay an extra second. He doesn't play the pass too early. It's the right time pass. It looks like he's got a goal in him. It looked like he had a goal in him against Southampton away in the League Cup when he hits the post, I think, doesn't he? And he looked like he had a goal in him, and then his movements. I made up. Great finish, by the way. Any keeper in the world can't save that. Like, do you know what I mean? It's a really good finish. The post and goes in. Like, it's a really good finish. And what he does, mate, he provides that extra option. Liverpool have got big games coming up. In terms of I'm not talking about the next 2 league games, by the way. I don't see him featuring in those games. But you're playing Lille at home next Tuesday. Can he maybe not start that one? Can he get half an hour against that one for you at Lille at home? And then I think we probably have the FA Cup 4th round at the end of the month. Can he play in that? Of course he can. I think you play PSV away. Can he play in that? So you can actually see when he probably gets a couple of starts this month, and then he really kicks on for you. But I love his movements, his touch. He just looks like different gravy, doesn't he? And listen, we've been asking for that like backup right side player for years. Let's be frank here. And if Mo does sign a new contract, I don't think we all expect in 2-3 years Mo Salah to be starting 50 games for Liverpool. But so you are going to need that option. And listen, I might be getting ahead of myself that Chiesa is going to be here in 2-3 years. But I just feel like you need that option. Liverpool are in 4 trophies, lads. We're in 4 trophies contending, and we need those extra players. So I'm super pleased for them. And I'm by the way, how made up with the players for him when he scored? They looked absolutely made up that he scored. Like, they must know what he's going through as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, they see him in the training coming in and going out and coming in, going out, feeling sorry for him. They're professionals. So it was just really nice to see, man. I'm so pleased with the kid. Really am.
I do love that you're going over the top and talking about him here in 2 years, because 48 hours ago, people were sending him to Napoli as part of a make. I know you weren't. I'm just joking. I'm just saying, but 48 hours ago, that was the talk, and you didn't want to be here, and you know, he was negotiating with Inter, and he'd even consider going back to Fiorentina and all this. So, Cersei, little bit on Chiesa, and then touch on Dan's and the impact he made, and you know what you see from him when you see him play, and you know, will we see any more of him over the next run of games where we do need a bit of rotation?
Yeah, I think like Kazi was saying, Chiesa, he showed glimpses of why we, you know, the player that we were linked to a few years ago. For 12 million, we're basing it on one game for 12 million. You know, it seems a good bargain as long as he can stay fit. And as Kazi was saying, we're in 4 comps. You know, I don't expect him to play any or start any league games, that's for sure. But you know, we've got Lille. We've got a couple like just mediocre games coming up, or next FA Cup round and whatever. So it's good ways to break him in and get him used to the pace. I don't think it's a long-term replacement for Salah, or definitely not. But he'll do for now. And for 12 million, you know, you really couldn't ask for that much as long as he can stay fit. And Dan's, and it's funny because Kazi said it yesterday, like if Dan scores, then is it for Nunes? And he just knew he was going to score it. I love the confidence in the play. He believed in himself, and he, you know, the little tricks he was doing, and even when he tried to backheel the ball in, and you know, and he got a little bit of slack or a little bit of grief from the players around him, but he didn't care. He's confident in his ability, and he's got that narkiness in him, which I like. So yeah, he had a great game of, you know, for the few minutes that he was on, and what more can you want from your striker? Even if he's there for like 5-10 minutes, you know, he still scored, and that's what strikers are supposed to do.
There's a part here, Gally, about Dan's though I want to mention. His goal. He wins the ball back. Really good.
Yeah.
He makes the right pass, and then he doesn't stop. Well, he has every right to stop and go ahead, it's on you now. No, he gets himself in the box and take a chance. And I like that about the kid. I like that you took a chance, get yourself in the box. Do you know what I mean? You never know where the ball falls to. It fell to you. Do you know what I mean? You see a lot of players where they win the ball back, make the right pass, and just kind of jog in the box and come in a bit late. No, he's darted into the box and went, no, I'm getting an option for you. Do you know what I mean? And I have no issue with that, like that kid getting minutes in any of our footy matches. The PSV away game screams like a proper dead rubber. That will be like, that could be a proper dead rubber. And I think it's like 4 or 5 days before Bournemouth away, which is going to be a hell of a game, that Bournemouth away game. So tonight, can you do a dance? Really? PSV away? Could you do him? I think you could. Can you do a Chiesa? Do you know what I mean? I think there's a proper dead rubber before Bournemouth. And he's give that manager an extra option now to go, fuck me, yeah, I can trust this kid to start. So it's nice to see.
Yeah, Tim, I was gonna ask you that next about Dan's. Do you know, there was talk about Dan's going out on loan. There are 2 or 3 championship sides that are really interested in him and giving him some, you know, a second half of a season against some, you know, senior competition, regular minutes. So I think so the scouting department has a bit more tape on him, I think, because I think this summer could be a time where they make a decision on a guy like Dan's. Like, does he come in as part of the rotation of attacking players with the senior squad, or, you know, do you move him on even for a fee? So do you think a cameo performance like today helps his cause of going out on loan, helps his cause of staying? And if you were the player, what would your preference be right now at his age and his makeup and where he's at in this club?
I would probably want to go play somewhere. I mean, I know what Kazi is saying, but he is not. I mean, for him to stick, I mean, as a player, for him to stick around to get a total of 90 minutes the rest of the season, or maybe like 120 minutes the rest of the season, seems kind of a waste unless you have injuries. I mean, you have 6 players up top, especially if Chiesa is healthy. For the long term, I think it's probably better for him to go on loan to a championship side and kind of like score some goals and come back and actually compete for a regular squad spot next year based on what we do in the summer and stuff. I mean, for this game, I don't think, you know, anybody this game like Rio and him and Nioni, I don't think they can do and they couldn't do anything. They can go out there and score 5 goals or whatever they're going to do. I don't think what the manager thinks of them and what the plan is on them, it was never going to change based on what they do against Accrington on the Saturday. I think that's already determined. I mean, from like Slot's angle, this game probably could not have turned out any better because I feel like they did all the substitutions as they wanted, in the minutes they wanted. They got everybody as many minutes they wanted, as little minutes as they wanted, as many minutes as they wanted, the whole shebang. So I think it was all planned. It went all according to plan. But I don't think any player can go out today and really like, yes, look at that. He earned his spot. I think out of all those players, Chiesa is the only one that, has a real shot at, being a long-term squad player. The other guys are over there just basically, out there wearing the jersey and getting some minutes and getting some confidence and stuff like that, saying, hey, I can do it on the big stage. Because ultimately, is this the big stage? Because you're playing against Accrington. I mean, they're probably like a lot of U21 sides Rio plays against that can compete with Accrington on a regular basis too. So it's not a huge step up for these guys, but it's good to see Dan's like show that confidence, go out there, get another goal. That can only help his confidence. But I really think he goes out there and gets like a bunch of goals, because I think he will. He's that kind of guy. Like he can smell things in the box. There's one thing to run into the box, and there's one thing to run into the box ready to strike that and strike that well into getting a goal. So he kind of has that sense to it. I personally would, if I was his manager, if I was his uncle, dad, whatever, I would be like, yeah, go to a championship side, get some more experience so that you come with a better resume next year saying, hey, look what I did.
You don't think though, gents, I'll ask you all the question here, that if Liverpool did get a bid for Darwin, you wouldn't keep him around in the January and just say,
oh, if we do something now, you're saying, yeah, I mean, because
they sold the player,
a backup 9 or something, maybe.
If they sold the player, I could see him going, and I will agree with you completely. Both you and Kazi basically alluded to it. I saw it as well. He wins that ball, and the way he steals the ball off the player, you can tell he's already thinking. Like, it's almost like a Harry Kane type thing. When Harry Kane used to steal the ball, and he would spring Son forward, just like that, with like a perfect decision. But Harry Kane would sprint into the box thinking to himself, if Son gets the shot off I expect, the keeper will have no choice but to pair this away or save this style from the angle it's coming in. He's in the perfect spot. He meets it perfectly. He gets good contact on it. He's celebrating before the fucking ball leaves his foot because he's confident. And he does it in a way that you can see it's natural, which is partially why, to your point, Timuchin, I think he could go to an upper echelon even championship side. And he may not even start. I think he plays big minutes. I think he scores goals. To Kazi's point, if they were to sell Darwin, my problem is I honestly see if they sold Darwin, it would probably be because they were making the move for the Georgian winger and he's going the other way and you're bringing in another attacker. So I don't know then if you do it.
Maybe.
But if Darwin were to go, or anyone, Diaz, anyone were to go, then maybe you keep him around. But let's fast forward. We got a few minutes left here, and I don't think any of you will actually appear on a show again before Tuesday's match against Forest. So quickly, Kazi, for you, what's the best 11 at this moment starting against Forest? Who are you going with Tuesday afternoon? And what is a very, very big match for this team in the league?
Dominic Szoboszlai, 10 other people. Because he's the only one who can run. He's genuinely the only one who can run in our midfield. Like, really run. And that's it. Liverpool have 2 massive games. I know the Forest game's big, I feel it. But the Brentford away game's fucking just as big. Yeah. Like, it feels really big as well. And then you do have a little bit of, not fun as such, but you're playing Lille at home, Ipswich at home, and then PSV away, where you can do your rotation. I just feel like you got to get your best 11 on the pitch for the next 2, and then worry about your rotation or worry about everything else. Judging on this game, no, it looks like he's going to do Diaz down the middle. Chris Jota does 90 and Darwin does 90, I think. So he's probably going to do Diaz down the middle. So it's Liverpool, the team you can probably write. Gravenberch, McAllister, it's probably the team that we all think it's going to be. Robertson gets another week off. Do you know what I mean? Canate, Van Dijk, you can probably pick the team ourselves, and so can Forest. But again, the players here who play today have done themselves no harm in getting minutes in the next 3-4 weeks. They've done no harm at all. Chiesa's done himself no harm. Endo's done himself no harm. Like, literally no harm there. The manager in the last 2 games for Endo at least can probably look and go, I can trust that lad. I can trust that lad to play 10 minutes here and there, 20 minutes here and there. Do you know what I mean? And feel like, I can give Gravenberch more of a rest in games. So I think you just get your 2 strongest 11 for the next 2 games, then worry about the rest later.
Timuchin, at the back, are you going with Kanate and Van Dijk and Robertson and Trent? Would you consider Bradley or Tsimikas
Not really. I think you just go with your strongest 11 on, not on form maybe, but on paper. The only questions would have been the front three, I think. But like Kazi is saying, based on what we saw from the minutes given today, it kind of basically spelled out saying the guys who didn't play today are going to play that. If he takes Jota out early or something, then we'd be like, is he going to start in the middle? But I think you automatically basically said Diaz in the middle, Gakpo on left, Mo on right.
Shelton, come to you on this one. What are you looking for against Forest? What do you think it'll take? Forest is a notoriously tough place. I know we got the late Darwin winner last year, 90+8? And the year before we lost. Ever since they've come up, it's been a tough away match for us. They're physical. Chris Wood's the type of, center forward that kind of causes problems for us. And we haven't been good on set pieces. And other than Arsenal, I think they've scored the second most goals this season from set pieces, Forest have. So tough trip away, and we all know Arne Slot has done nothing to hide how much he wants to beat them because he talks about it in every presser. What's the most important thing for you?
This is Verge's match. He's the captain, and he's a captain, and he needs to go out there and get the defense straight. That's really the biggest part. He needs to go out there and go back before, like tomorrow, on the training pitch right there, go put his arm around Kanate, say, hey, lad, you need to go out there and get your head in this and make sure that we're straight, because it's going to all depend on making sure those center halves are right. He needs to go back over to Trent and say, hey, do your job. Same thing goes with that. I think that Robertson's going to play in that match right there. I don't see Simicast going there and making a run against Force. I don't think he's the right option right there. I think he's too forward, and I think that Robertson right there has a little bit more of a head on him to cover that part. But yeah, I mean, I think it's Virgil's match. I mean, he's the one that needs to go there and channel this right there and be able to take Chris Wood out of the match. And that's the whole key right there to beating Forrest right there, is to take him out of the match.
Just one thing, if you win the next two, it really kills Arsenal. Like, that'll hurt the fans, it'll hurt the players to go, fuck me, defensive Brentford and Forest and won. Do you know what I mean? It's like, this is, do you know what I mean? Like, it's psychological now. That could be a psychological blow. Do you know what I mean? We've been in these title races before with City and things like that. And when you go away to a big side, it's like, when you think, they could drop there, they're playing a good side, blah, 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 and then City just goes in and win 3-0. And you're like, it's just deflating, isn't it? And I think it would really deflate the other fans, the opposition, if Liverpool go in and win the next two.
Last one here. I wanted to get your guys' take on this real quick. Seeing that it is, the third round of the FA Cup. Kazi, someone who grew up, outside Liverpool, in Liverpool. Cersei spent a lot of time over there as well. Like, the whole magic of the FA Cup with the change of the formats, the no replays, the gulf in class that has just happened between the lower leagues and the first division and the old first division, right? Like, what is it still magical? Does the FA Cup still carry the same allure that it did when you were kids, or did it carry that allure? I shouldn't even romanticize about it because I didn't grow up with it. Like, Kazi, you're shaking your head, so why don't you go first, and then Cersei, if you want to kind of give me your thoughts on it, I'd love to hear it. I think the listeners would as well.
It carries the allure. No, it was when you were a kid. When it was on, Cersei, I'll tell you, it was on BBC for 7 hours before the FA Cup final. You're watching every single game again, all the highlights back and things like that. It was massive. No, it doesn't, but I think that's also on the league. I don't think that's to do with replays. I think that's also on the league itself for not prioritising it to be the week after the last game of the season, which the FA Cup was. And that's why it felt like the biggest game, because it was the last competitive football match before everything was out. Do you know what I mean? And then I think a few years ago, we had like an R5 kickoff at the FA Cup final, and Premier League teams were playing the same day. That's not on, that's not right, and that's not how you protect your cup. But go and ask Tamworth if it's still special or not. When they played 7 games of footy to play Spurs away today. And you get Spurs back at your ground, and they'll probably bankroll you for 5 years. I'm not a fan of replays. That shouldn't how it be. It shouldn't. The lower league club's survival shouldn't rely on your name coming out of a hat to troll Liverpool to make your club survive. That doesn't seem fair to me. I think the Premier League clubs here who've campaigned for no replays should have to swallow it and send some money down the ladder then, and send some money down to these teams. Because the reason why football, and this is for our American fans here, football is so special is because we have promotion and relegation. It makes you dream. that you can play these teams, and that's what makes our sport special. And I know American sports are not like that because it's all franchised, and you get rewarded for being crap because you get a good draft pick. No, it makes teams believe. It makes you go, oh my God, we can play Liverpool one day. So the money has to be sent back down. I think it's still special, mate. I really do. I think it's amazing, and I think it's a great competition. I understand the feeling towards it. I just feel like now the clubs and the Premier League clubs especially, we have a lot to answer for that competition, and we should be sending money down to those teams. But those Tamworth players today, there's a player there today in Accrington, Stanley, who's sitting there with Trent's match-worn shirt, going, fuck me, and showing his grandkids, and I think that's just so special, you know. And I wish could you imagine, like, by the way, an MLB team playing someone just basically like the Yankees or the Red Sox showing up to like literally a bum state in a like playing like against the guys who are painters and roofers and just construction workers playing around the baseball, because that's what the FA Cup is, and that's what makes it so special.
So, Z, how about you? Maybe from a standpoint, will we see any more of the old FA Cup, you know, big upsets and the great, you know, memories? Like, it does feel more and more like the B-sides and the second strings of these Premier League clubs and even championship clubs, some of them can really go out and kind of end these Cinderella stories. What is it that makes the FA Cup so special to you? And do you think we'll see any big upsets today or tomorrow?
I think when I was a kid, obviously FA Cup was huge. I know when we lost to Wimbledon 1-0, and it just messed up my whole summer. And I was 11 years old. I was depressed the whole summer. I was like 10 times what I am now.
What are you kidding? You're still depressed about it today.
Yeah, so I was worse then. So, and also growing up in London, and you know, it's all my school friends were like Arsenal fans and Tottenham fans. So it was just getting braided, and I hated life. So, but I think FA Cup was huge for us, was because we were banned from Europe.
Talking about it over here.
I literally I triggered him. I didn't even mean to. Before you know it, he's gonna have a therapy session going on with the listeners.
No, I say, come on, lay down. Tell me what's on your mind.
We were out of Europe, so obviously, you know, the league back then, it was just standard. You know, we were going to win the league, or you know, whatever. And obviously, because there was no European competition, now it's the big cup. You know, that was a big competition. And as Kazi was saying, like, the whole week is just FA Cup build up, FA Cup build up. You know, it's the pre-match was great, and I think once the FA Cup allowed Manchester United not to participate, because they went to the World Club Cup.
United pulled out.
And the fact that the FA allowed that to happen, I think that's when it lost its prestige.
They started it.
Yeah, and then it's only the last few years when everyone started kind of taking it seriously, and then obviously when we won the League Cup and FA Cup, I was like, yeah, happy. And then when we lost the league on the last day and lost to Real Madrid in the Champions League, I was like, oh, fuck the FA Cup. It doesn't matter. Like, I'd rather win the FA Cup than the League Cup. I think the League Cup is, you know, it's an unnecessary cup, to be honest with you, with all the games that you play. But I think there's some upsets. And like Kazi was saying, like, you look at the lower clubs, and I think that's what makes English football different to everyone else, and that's why the ESL was so badly opposed, because these lower league clubs, you're giving them some hope. And English fans, we just live and breathe football. You know, no matter what team you support, whether it's a non-league team or Premier League team, we live and breathe football. That's all we have to look forward to, because the weather's so shit. So, hopefully there'll be some upsets. I think an upset tomorrow will be Man United beating Arsenal.
I don't know what you guys think about this, but is it because that it's not that the FA Cup has gone down? I think it feels like something because of Champions League, maybe Europe has become a lot more important, right? I mean, it was always important, but it wasn't this big. Like Champions League, it wasn't this big for one. And I feel like the Premier League has become, because back then, you know, like Serie A was like the big boy, right? Like all the good players would go there and stuff. I feel like now the Premier League's importance is a lot better, and it's a lot more competitive, a lot more like high-end teams. And then you have Champions League, which is a lot more games than obviously European competitions used to be and stuff like that. So it almost like makes the FA Cup, the stepchild, almost like it's a bit more forgotten than for the big teams. For the small teams, it still has the same value. But I think for
with
the big
teams,
boys, it has become like an afterthought, not because it diminished in value, but these two other things went up in value, not only like the importance of winning, but financially, it's a lot more rewarding.
But the big teams,
I think with the big teams is the influx of foreign players, the FA Cup doesn't mean anything to them.
I don't think
it will. The FA Cup means a lot more to homegrown English players that have that tradition from the granddads to the dads. But the European players, the FA Cup doesn't mean anything to them. So I think that comes into it.
Like a guy like Dan's, would he rather score the
FA Cup means
the FA Cup?
For me, I think it started to lose the allure. I think when the big clubs started just rotating every player possible, and I think that didn't help either. The one thing that you can get the FA Cup back is, and this has just always been my opinion, it should be a seeded draw. The lower 20 teams should be playing the Premier League side in the third round. You played 7 or 8 games after the third round. I think you should be allowed to earn your right to go and play against Liverpool. And I think it should be a seeded draw in a weird way, where you put the 20 Premier League sides and the 20 lowest sides, ranked sides in the league into a draw, into a pot, 40 teams or whoever it is, and give them a chance to play a Premier League side. And I think that's the fairest way. But it loses the allure again when the big clubs can just roll out the second string, like Liverpool today, roll out to literally second and third string players and just Accrington Stanley don't touch the ball. You know what I mean? And like, I know it's a great day out for them, but the upsets go a little bit. Especially, like, for example, Newcastle are playing like someone crazy at home, I think, today. But they're playing them at home. And I was kind of thinking to myself, going, if that was away, it could be Bromley. They're playing Bromley.
Yeah, that's what they're playing.
Like, if Bromley v Newcastle, like Tamworth versus Newcastle feels amazing. I remember when Marine played Spurs a couple of years ago. Now, Marine, for people who don't know in America, Marine's a team based in Liverpool. It is just lads like myself or whatever it is, to a decent standard, better standard than me, just getting together, and they entered the FA Cup, and I think they won like 10 games to get to the third round and played Spurs. Spurs won 7 or 8-0, which is what should happen. But it's just like, we played Spurs. I think Richarlison was doing his chicken dance or something when he scored, and you're like, what the hell is happening here? Like, you know what I mean? It's an amazing moments, and I really hope we don't lose the magic of the FA Cup. I was so happy when Costa scored. Liverpool should win it more. We should win that trophy more. And I have always said this with our domestic cups. I'm very proud that Liverpool are the record holders for the League Cup. I'm very proud of that Liverpool have won it the most. And our FA Cup's always been a bit jaded. And I'm so happy that we are starting to take it a bit more seriously. So keep the magic of the cup, please.
I love it. And I'll say the reason I asked that question was it was actually my initial introduction to English football, because the FA Cup final would be aired every year on the Wide World of Sports. And we had one TV at my grandparents' house with, like, at that time, I think there were like 16 of us grandkids, and we'd eat every Sunday. We would have dinner at their house. And once a year, we would watch whatever was on, horse racing, boxing. But once a year, we would watch the FA Cup final. And I remember watching it and the crowd's going crazy. And it's probably like mid-'80s. So it was just, and I just remember that to me was like this special, magical. Yeah. To me, that's what soccer was. And I'm like 6 years old. And it's the only sport that I could relate to because it actually looks similar to the version I played. I mean, granted, I was in youth soccer, but it still feels the same. It's a ball, it's shin guards, it's guys yelling at each other. So it's always special to me. I was wondering what it was. So I really appreciate it. I know we went over. I appreciate you guys sharing those stories. And I'm with you, Kazi. I actually said on the pregame show today, I'd do the same seeded draw, the 20 and 20, whatever it is. And every one of them would be played in the smaller stadium, the smaller team side. They deserve the gate.
Yeah.
They deserve the money, and it makes years for them.
Yeah, you give them the choice, wouldn't you? You give them the choice and go to the small, like if you're playing Tamworth, do you want them home or away? Because if you get them away, you get half of the gate receipts. That's the difference. For Accrington Stanley now, they get half of Anfield's gate receipts in the FA Cup, and that's why it's so important. Do you know what I mean? If you're Tamworth, Bromley, you're going to Newcastle, you're getting 25,000 worth of gate receipts coming to you. It bankrolls your team for 5-10 years. I remember being at the Havant and Waterlooville game, guys, at Anfield. I don't know if you ever remember this game. We were 2-1 down. And I was sitting there going, I think it was under Hodgson, maybe. It was like 2010, 2011. Havant and Waterlooville 2-1 up at Anfield. We beat them 5-2 in the end. But when you're in the stand, mate, you're like, are we actually going to do this? Are we actually going to do this? Luckily enough, we won 5-2, I think. But yeah, that was a special memory, man. Amazing.
Nick's jumped in just to make me feel terrible and says mid-80s. So you are around 50 now, Gally. Just turned 47 last Sunday, actually. Nick, thank you for getting up early enough to do math.
I see, fella. And you made a little hair comment before, fella. You know what I mean? You've got your wing backs playing a bit high up the field as well. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, they're flying. They're flying back. Trust me, there is no shame. I'm the one who admitted you don't want to see this head shaved. I'm gonna have this thing. I'll be growing this thing out and wrapping it around like a coil on the top of my head. But long before I go and shave that thing, I'll be rocking the Tim special, and I'll just be wearing a hat for life.
That's the way to go, baby. Don't have to mess with your hair.
Thank you, everyone who viewed in the pre-match, commented today, got involved on post-match. We will have our Monday night podcast, our Monday morning coffee show. Someone hosting for you tomorrow? They do have a show?
I hope so. I'm not. Well, I mean, yeah.
You mean
Demetrius on his way? Demetrius on his way out of town. He's going to get American Scouts.
Gambling away all the American Scouser funds to see what we can get, guys. Are
you going to Vegas?
Yes, I'll be in Vegas starting tomorrow. So I'll see you there, buddy.
All right, for everyone here at American Scouts TV, thank you for viewing. Hit the like button, subscribe, share, bring a friend, get them to subscribe. Join us tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 Central for the morning coffee show.
No,
and
Monday. Tomorrow, Sunday.
Monday, sorry. People, I'll get there eventually. I'm ready to go back to work already. Monday we'll have the morning coffee show, and we will also have the Monday night podcast as always, and all the other programming all week long. We'll give you a day off on Sunday to enjoy the Arsenal-Manchester United match, because I don't think anyone could stomach a watch-along to watch that thing trying to stream on ESPN+. That's another topic for a different show. All right, everyone, have a great week. We will see you next time.